Phantasy Star IV, Retold. Written by Michael Plymel. Narrated by Mason Bourne. Chapter 7. Chaz. After leaving the destroyed village of Molcom, Alice leads us east. Since we're on a high-priority mission, we use our hunter skills to avoid the monsters roaming the lands. I don't really want to deal with that idiot Rune, so I hang back with Han. Because of that, I have a clear view of his anxious face when the town of Krupp comes into view. We're going to stop by Krupp, aren't we? Han speaks in a defeated voice. What is with you in that town? Got a history with it? Looks like you'll find out soon enough. As Han feared, Alice is taking us straight toward Krupp. And that's because I've become very interested in what it is that we're going to find out. We step into town. It's a pleasant village nestled near a lake. The people are full of energy, but I can't help but notice a complete lack of children. Han! A young man says when we enter. You're home!
Hey, I've returned. Han says awkwardly. My apologies, but I'm in a bit of a hurry.
Alice didn't stop to talk, so we wave goodbye to the young man and catch up with her and Rune. Home? I look to my scholarly companion.
Well, yes. This is the village I grew up in.
Then why were you so worried about coming back? That man seemed happy to see you.
It's a bit complicated.
There's not much going on in this rural village, but as expected of a hunter, Alice's first destination is the weapon shop. She just bought a slicer, but she's already getting frustrated with its lack of quality. I'm still loving my new sword, though. Welcome! How can I... Oh, Han! It's good to see you again! The lady behind the counter shows us a warm smile.
Hello. I'm stopping by for a bit.
Han looks behind the lady toward a door that leads into the back of the shop. As he watches, an older man walks through it. He looks at Han with disappointment, coming to a stop at the counter just across from him.
Well, if it isn't my disinherited son,
the older man says.
You sure have some gall to step back into my shop. Hello, Pa. Never helping with the family business, just spending all day studying. What use is that?
Pa, right now the whole planet is in serious danger. I want to help with the power of science. That's why I'm studying.
Always the same answer.
He turns to the rest of us.
If you got business here, make it quick.
After his words, he turns and disappears behind the door.
And that's how it is,
Han says. Wow. I pat my buddy on the back. Rough, man. Now that that's out of the way, Alice says without concern, let me see your slicers. The lady complies, bringing out several weapons for Alice to examine. I'm no expert when it comes to slicers, but even I can tell that these are a step above the ones we saw in Mile. Oh. Alice picks one up. Didn't think I'd see something like this in such a small village. Oh, that's because of Han, the lady says. He's been sending us modern weapon manufacturing techniques in the form of books detailing the newest technologies. His father read them all and was able to craft high-quality weapons like the one in your hand. I looked to Han. Seriously?
Well, when I saw the techniques in those books, I knew Pa would love them, so...
Don't worry, Han, the lady says. He might talk like that, but he's actually very proud of what you've accomplished.
Yeah, I know.
There seem to be a lot of complicated feelings between them, but it's not something we should get involved with. So after Alice trades in her secondary slicer for the new one, we leave the shop. It's a bit late, but according to Rune, we should be able to reach our ultimate destination of Tonoway before sundown. So it looks like we'll be heading out, now that Alice has her slicer. On our way out, Han speaks up.
Hey, do you mind if we stop by somewhere before leaving town?
Alice peers at him from the corner of her eyes. I suppose we can make a detour. Han takes the lead, heading to the north of town. There's a rather large building here, and when we step inside,
Seiya!
He takes off to the other end of the wide open room, and we follow shortly after. All around us are desks filled with books and paper. Sitting at those desks are children, each focused on their teacher. Seiya. Han, you come home. Seiya shows him a happy smile.
Seiya, I've missed you. Let me introduce you to everyone. He turns to us. This is my fiancee, Seiya.
Fiancé? Alice says in shock. It's a pleasure to meet you. Her smile falls on us.
Seiya teaches children here in her home, Han informs us.
Wow, I say. I'm impressed. Oh, please don't be. It's about the only thing I'm capable of doing.
Alice and Chaz are hunters. They are assisting me in my task.
It's a difficult job, isn't it? Thank you for taking care of Han.
Don't worry, I'll be fine.
But if anything were to happen to you...
Seiya.
Han. Somehow, the atmosphere got really awkward for the rest of us, especially when Han and Seiya start to embrace each other right in front of everyone. Ugh, you two. Alice seems the most affected out of all of us.
My apologies.
Han finally remembers that the rest of us exist.
Sorry, Seiya. I'll come see you again soon.
Yes, I'll be waiting. With that, we leave the makeshift school. Alice and Rune take the lead again, with me and Han following a short distance behind them. Tonoway is to the north, so we continue our trip across the countryside. After passing between two large lakes, the hills transform into a full-blown mountain. Rune leads us up to that mountain, straight to what looks to be a collapsed cave entrance. The entrance is blocked, I say.
No sweat,
Rune replies.
This should be a cinch. Everyone stand back.
We do as he suggests. Once we're out of the way, Rune raises his arm toward the pile of boulders.
Flailers!
Mysterious energy flies from his hand, blowing the boulders away in an instant. Wow! The word slipped out before I knew it. Rune looks at me with an annoying smile.
Shall we go? That technique he just used, Han says. I've never seen it before. Huh, I'm surprised you've never seen it before. This is what you call magic. Magic? Isn't that a lost art? Not for me.
Rune doesn't explain further. He steps toward the cleared tunnel entrance and begins leading us through the cave system, toward the town of Tonoway. Even Alice stays a few steps behind him, while Han and I bring up the rear. Man, that guy really gets on my nerves. I watch Rune's back as he releases one of his magics on a group of slimes.
Why the strong feelings? He's just helping us out, right?
If he wanted to help, he could have just pointed us in the right direction and disappeared.
Ah, right.
There's a path branching off to the right, and from that corridor, I hear the sound of monsters. I put my hand on my sword's hilt, just in case. But without even taking a glance down the path, Rune raises his hand and releases his magic. He continues on without care, and when I pass by the corridor, I see the corpses of 3 monsters.
What powerful magic,
Han says. I could do that too. Han looks at me with a skeptical eye. We follow Rune, who confidently picks a path each time there's a split. After a while, we end up in a long, narrow tunnel. At the end of it, I see a bit of light leaking in. Shortly after, we step out into the late afternoon sun. Without a word, he leads us out of the mountainous region and into a small grasslands. In the middle of that field of grass sits a single city, Tonoway.
And here we are,
Rune says. Good job. Alice steps forward, taking the lead again. Now, let's speak to the Chief Doran to see if we can get our hands on some Alshline. The town isn't like most others. The people here are Motavians. In other words, the original inhabitants of this planet. Their features are strikingly different from our own. with blue, furry bodies and beaks for mouths. That's only natural considering we were originally from Palma. Palma was the first planet in the Algo solar system. I say was because it was destroyed by some unknown force 1,000 years ago. Legends say some of our ancestors used our space travel technology to escape before it blew up, but it's hard to know the truth. However, after landing on this planet, Motavia, we eventually came to populate it. The original Motavians, like the ones in this village, have become a minority on their own home planet. This place is pretty lively. I scan the energetic town. Think they have any good shops? These Motavians are a secluded bunch, Alice says, but their equipment is top-notch. Seriously? I really need some better armor. Mind if I take a look? By all means. Alice sounds more than happy. We walk to a row of stalls where merchants are selling their wares. The armorer isn't pleased to see me, giving me a gruff reply when I greet him. What you got for sale, pal? I peer at the armor lined up behind him.
Nothing you can afford, short stuff.
Short stuff? I do my best to ignore his comment. Anyway, the armor. The blue-furred Motavian clicks his beak, but he eventually concedes. Various armors appear in front of me, and I know immediately that Alice spoke the truth when she said they made great equipment. I'll give you 500 meseta for this one. I point to a piece of chest armor.
Bah! 500? Listen here, short stuff. I made this titanium mail with my own hands, and I know exactly what it's worth. Hand over 2,000 meseta, or get out of here.
What? That's ridiculous! I check my pocketbook. I made some meseta from slaying monsters on the way here, but not that much. He pulls it from the counter.
Then why are you still standing there?
Look, if I trade in these items here, I put a few things on the counter. I'm sure we can come to a deal, right? Got at least 1,000 meseta after selling them. Can't be worth much more than that.
It can't. Says who, short stuff?
This Motavian is really starting to irritate me. Fine. I look to Alice. Hey, partner, mind helping me out here? Perhaps with another loan? Alice looks over my shoddy armor with a frown. Can't believe you're still wearing that leather gear. Well, it's my first mission, after all. I let out a stiff laugh.
Alice!
The Motavian leans over the counter.
Well, I'll be. It is you.
In the flesh, what'd you say about giving my financially impaired partner here a deal?
Sure, not a problem.
He gathers the items I placed on the counter, along with all my meseta.
Enjoy your new armor, son.
Right. I'm caught a bit off guard by his sudden change in attitude. Now that I've got some better protective gear, I feel a bit more confident about my role as our party's frontline fighter. Although I can't help but feel like I still lost that exchange somehow. Alice doesn't seem interested, as she immediately heads to the north of the village. There's one house that's noticeably larger than the rest. It seems to be our destination because Alice walks right up to the door and pushes her way inside.